Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Baudet, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening.
There is no single solution to the problems at Eskom. There just is no one silver bullet.
No quick fixes for our power utility, warns the President in a week of rolling blackouts. One of the country's biggest gold producers warns it may have to lose 6,000 jobs.
I can testify I have never, ever been a spy.
And the President denies allegations from Mosioua Lekota that he was a sellout. But we start here. Billions in debt, crippled by corruption, unable to provide the electricity required by our country. That is the bleak reality of Eskom. And today the President warned there's no speedy solution to the problems facing our power utility. Certainly part of that solution will be money. We'll hear about that during Finance Minister Tito Mbowene's budget speech next week. Where that money will come from is, of course, the big question. Another certainty is that Eskom cannot be fixed without the involvement of all stakeholders. Today, in his State of the Nation reply, President Cyril Ramaphosa extended a hand to the unions. He has promised any unbundling at Eskom will be done with as few retrenchments as possible. Annika Larsen reports from Parliament.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has admitted there is no one silver bullet to save Eskom from ruin. It needs a far-reaching, credible plan, and the decision to unbundle the parastatal will go ahead.
Eskom in its current form faces a number of challenges. In the end, we need also to look at the financing of Eskom. Financially, the reference to cost-cutting should be understood not to mean retrenchments.
What is new is that union bosses and the Department of Public Enterprises will be meeting over the next few days to discuss how to prevent retrenchments, that there'll be a dedicated maintenance unit and a task team set up to report daily to the President on the status of the grid. Eskom is in debt to the tune of 450 billion rand and won't survive until April if it doesn't get help from Treasury. The President says the next few months going forward will be hard, but there is no other option. Annika Larsen, Parliament.
Well, to another big issue involving the President, and it's become a massive talking point since Mosioua Lekota made startling allegations yesterday in Parliament. The co-president told the National Assembly yesterday that the President sold out his comrades during the struggle. Lekota claimed Ramaphosa had worked with apartheid-era police and sent freedom fighters like him to jail. Well, today the President delivered a strong reply, and Leanne Jansen has those details.
Now, let us be aware of wedge drivers. Let us be aware of people who want to spread poisonous messages amongst us. I can testify I have never, ever been a spy. I've never worked with the enemy. All I've ever done in my life is my commitment to the people of our country. That's all.
With this, President Cyril Ramaphosa hit back at his one-time comrade, who now claims he sold them out.
When it was difficult, you wrote to the special branch that we put communist ideas in your head. In doing so, you condemned us to the special branch.
Health Minister Mosioua Lekota has also come to the President's defense.
In 1991, when this President Cyril Ramaphosa was standing as the Secretary General of ANC, you were one of the people who came to mobilize us to vote for him. Why did you want ANC to vote for a sellout when you knew exactly that this man is a sellout?
In the absence of any proof from Lekota, it will be up to the voters this year to decide who's telling the truth. Leanne Jansen, Parliament.
Trouble ahead in our gold mining sector. 6,000 jobs could be on the line. Mining giant Sibanye-Stillwater today announced restructuring plans, this after 3 months of strike action. Aviwe Mtila reports on an industry under pressure on a number of fronts.
It's the last thing the mining sector needs. On a day when official stats showed gold mining plunged the most in 6 years, the country's top gold producers announced it could shed about 6,000 jobs. Like other mines, Sibanye-Stillwater has seen profits squeezed by rising costs, labor unrest and declining grades.
This is a result of ongoing financial losses that we have experienced during 2018. The initiation of the Section 189 consultation process follows numerous initiatives to contain losses at these operations, which have thus far proven to be unsuccessful, including engaging with the unions to jointly find ways to avoid the potential restructuring.
The notice to restructure comes amid an ongoing 3-month strike by AMCU. It's demanding a 1,000 Rand wage increase for workers at Sibanye Gold's operation. Just last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa called the mining sector a sunrise industry. Many delegates at the recent mining indaba in Cape Town were generally optimistic about future relations between government and mining firms. But strained labor relations continue to haunt the sector. Aviwe Mtila, Johannesburg.
Moving now to Mpumalanga, and 7 more bodies of alleged cable thieves have been brought to the surface of the Gloria mine. Mine authorities believe 20 men were underground stripping the copper cables from the coal mine when a gas explosion occurred at the Middelburg mine. Now, last week 6 bodies were brought out of the mine, so with today's discovery the confirmed death toll now stands at 13. To the Eastern Cape now, it's known as the City of the Saints, but the university town of Makande certainly has not been blessed with rain. The drought-stricken city had its taps turned off 9 days ago. Now the water's back, but it's undrinkable. Sandy McCowan reports that it is the poorest of the poor who are suffering the most.
Finally, water after 9 days. But Mildred Jacobs' joy was short-lived. This water is filled with sand and has a strange odour. The 60-year-old can't afford to buy water and is forced to cook, drink, clean and wash her clothes with what she has. And within a few hours, the taps run dry again.
Kuba kunzima ba masenze iwashing kunzima kuba masivase ngokupheleleyo funeke sizisule nje kaloku awekho apha endlini amanzi.
The problem started when water from the Fish River was pumped into Glen Melville Dam, which was sitting at a low 13% due to the drought. The rush of water into the dam has caused excessive turbulence.
There was a lot of turbidity in the water. Turbidity refers to the amount of soil in the water. It is said that you need at least to have about 80 NTU turbidity in the water before you can treat the water. Ours that came into the dam was sitting at 1,000 NTU, which means you could not treat the water before you can take out the sludge.
The James Kleinhuis treatment works are now working overtime, separating the mud from the water to make sure it's safe for human consumption. Sandy McCowan, Makanda.
To the State Capture Commission, and Fakey Mentor's evidence seems to be losing credibility by the day. The Public Works Department has testified it found no trace of 5 key features she described at the Gupta's Saxonwold compound in Johannesburg. Mentor and Public Works officials, including architect Adna Visa, toured the Gupta's Saxonwold properties. Here's a clip from today's proceedings.
Did you find any of the fissures in the house that you had been asked to go and establish whether they were there?
No, Chair, we could not.
Not even one?
Not even one. We were expecting a gilded bathroom, very elaborate, but we found a fairly dated guest bathroom with hardly any gold finishes in it.
Let's look at other news making local headlines now. And Trade Union Solidarity has opened a criminal case against members of Black First, Land First. Some BLF members, including their spokesperson, Lindsay Marsdorp, reportedly supported social media comments that they didn't feel any pain over the death of white children. 4 pupils were killed, over 20 others injured after a walkway collapsed at the school recently. Now, Solidarity believes the comments amount to hate speech. They've also asked the Independent Electoral Commission to deregister the BLF from the May election. Some Tshwane University of Technology campuses will remain shut. A meeting between management and students did not take place today as planned. Students have been protesting for almost 2 weeks now. The Student Union of South Africa says there's a desperate need for a permanent solution on fees, accommodation and transport problems. Higher Education Minister Naledi Pandor is yet to make a pronouncement on the campus shutdown. Still ahead on eNews, a deadly attack has taken place in India's disputed Kashmir region.
And in your business news, the Rand weakened past 14 Rand against the US dollar today, and it's all thanks to Eskom.
Time to talk the bottom line with Refiwa Madzena. Good evening to you, Refiwa. Listening to the President this afternoon in Parliament, he said we've got to wait till next week to hear from Tito Mboweni on the kind of money that needs to be put towards Eskom. Now, this is a utility that's over 400 billion Rand in debt. How much does it need to just get it basically in the clear for now?
Well, for the short term, Sally, it needs about 100 billion Rand from anyone who is willing to fund. What's scary about Treasury possibly funding this this bid that Eskom is trying to get is that Treasury doesn't have all that much money. And the President indicated as much during his Q&A session and said that South Africa's borrowing capacity has diminished over the years. So we really don't have much room to maneuver. We can't really borrow any more money.
That's really startling. And then the 100 billion Rand question is, where will the money come from?
Where will it come from? Perhaps some international stakeholders. We have seen the Chinese come in last year and committed some money to help Eskom. So perhaps there are negotiations happening there.
Won't that come with strings?
It might come with strings, but we also have rumours of the PIC perhaps coming in to step in there and help with that 100 billion Rand. So it might not be a full figure from one or other department, but various amounts from...
Because PIC is in crisis itself.
Right, exactly, Sally.
All right, so no clear answers on that. Let's await next week's budget speech. Now, mining figures, production figures for December were lower than expected. Of course, this on a day when we hear about Sibanye possibly having to shed as many as 6,000 jobs. So really not a great day for the mining industry.
Really not, Sally. And I mean, just to give you some context, the mining industry is one of the biggest contributors to GDP. We rely heavily on exporting commodities to various places around the world. So we saw a decrease of about 4.8% in December, and there was a decrease in November as well. And the mining industry has really blamed this on higher operating costs, uncertainty around power, as well as the strikes. So one that was indicated in that data was the Sibanye strike that's been happening for the past 3 months.
Thank you very much. Let's look at indicators now, and also not great news.
Not so great. In line with Valentine's Day, the JSE closed into the red, and the winning streak came to an end. So the local bourse gave up its earlier gains as global markets came under immense pressure from disappointing US data. So your banks fell 2%, food and drug retailers were down about 2.1%, and financials about 1.5%. Looking at your commodities now, so oil prices were lower after weak retail sales came in from the US. Earlier, Brent crude had reached its highest levels this year in hopes that a trade deal between China and the US would be reached. And onto the local unit now, the Rand has regained a little of what it lost, so it's one of the most volatile currencies in the world once again. And investors are worried that SA could get a credit rating downgrade because of Eskom. So the local unit was significantly weaker against major global currencies.
Well, I think I need some Valentine's chocolate just to comfort myself after that bad news. Thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Let's take a look at news from further afield now. And members of the Commonwealth Observer Group have arrived in Nigeria ahead of Saturday's general election. The group is led by former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete. Now, their work is considered key as previous elections have been marred by irregularities. 15 people were killed in a stampede at an election rally earlier this week. There are fears violence may overshadow this coming vote. President Muhammadu Buhari is hoping to secure a second term. At least 30 Indian police officers have been killed in Kashmir. The deadly bomb attack was aimed at a convoy. Around a dozen school children were also wounded. Islamist group Jaish-e-Mohammed has claimed responsibility. Kashmir is a Muslim-majority region at the centre of decades of hostility between India and Pakistan. Still ahead, we'll go to our weather centre in Cape Town. There's Louis standing by. And then on Valentine's Day, we reflect on a breakup that we were all talking about this time last year. Heading for the weekend, let's find out about your weather. Louis Fernandez in Cape Town. Good evening. How's it looking?
Good evening, Sally. Well, a quick look at our satellite imagery shows all the cloud that developed today over the northern and eastern parts, and underneath of that was cool and rainy for many parts of South Africa. And we're going to continue seeing rain as we head into Friday over the interior of South Africa, including around Gauteng, under thick cloud. Stormy conditions start the day off into the central interior, and as the day goes on, those storms are going to spread across much of South Africa's inland communities. And later on, we'll be keeping a close eye on Limpopo, as there are indications of heavier rainfall once again returning to parts of that province. In the Northern Cape, we see mixed weather conditions, sunny and hot in the west, cooling down as you head eastwards, where we see some wet weather. Kimberley in with a 60% chance of showers and storms. But in the Western Cape, it's going to be a dry day, very hot for the interior, Oudtshoorn reaching a high of 39 degrees. Stormy weather developing for parts of the Eastern Cape, especially for the interior, where there could also be severe thunderstorms developing. And for KwaZulu-Natal, another mostly cloudy day for parts of the interior with a few thunder showers, but closer to the coastline, hotter and drier weather expected. In Mpumalanga, it's going to be mostly cloudy with on and off showers in the province, and later on, thunderstorms likely in the south as well. And it's going to be another rainy day into parts of Limpopo, keeping things cooler over this area. Polokwane, you're expecting a high of 21 degrees. Keep those umbrellas handy if you're in the northwest. The showers and thunderstorms continue in this province, and it's going to be another mostly wet day in the Free State. Bloemfontein 21, with stormy conditions spreading across the province. And finally into Gauteng, cloud and rain still expected at times for this area, with thunder showers likely later on as well. Let's take a quick look at what the weekend brings to your parts of South Africa, and it's going to stay stormy in the eastern parts with the potential of heavier rainfall for parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga. And then on Sunday, things will really be drying up over the central interior, with Bloemfontein reaching a high of 31 degrees. That's all from the Weather Centre. Sally, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Louis. Finally, today, love is all around us. Well, sort of. Thanks to a mid-morning tweet from Jacob Zuma, we've been reminded it's exactly a year since he broke up with us.
Fast forward to 2019, Zuma has wished South Africans a happy Valentine's Day. Let's take you back to this day a year ago. Late into the night, the country waited in anticipation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you look serious? You can't even say good evening. Huh? What's happening? Huh?
Finally, he broke up with us.
I have therefore come to the decision to resign as President of the Republic with immediate effect.
And it was a wrap.
Before we wrap, let's recap your top stories this evening. No quick fixes for our power utility, warns the President in a week of rolling blackouts. One of the biggest gold producers in the country warns it may have to lose 6,000 jobs. From me and the team, it's a very good night.